Hi, my name is Grace, and I'm going to be talking about the article titled Voluntary Smiling Changes Regional Brain Activity by Paul Ekman and Richard J. Davidson. What they are trying to study is if different types of smiles can cause different parts of your brain to activate. In this article, they talk a lot about the difference between a Duchenne smile, which is named after a French neurologist, and a fake smile. In the Duchenne smile, you can see it's more of a genuine, real smile. You see eyes squinted, cheeks lifted, big smile. As with the fake smile, it's mostly just like the corners of your mouth being lifted and not really genuine. In their hypothesis, they talked about how by making a Duchenne smile a real smile, that they think that the left front part side of your brain will be activated. This left side of your brain is actually associated with feelings of happiness and joy. The participants were put in a small room by themselves where they were hooked onto an electroencephalogram or an EEG. What this machine does is that it measures brain activity levels as well as where this activity is happening in their brain. While being hooked onto this machine, they also had the participants make certain facial movements to represent either a Duchenne smile, a fake smile, and they even had them make an angry smile. I'll talk about why they had them make this angry smile later. Once they made the facial expression, they would have them hold it for 20 seconds. The participants chosen were actually undergraduate students that were in introductory psychology classes at the University of Wisconsin. 14 participants were chosen, and knowing that they're undergraduates, we're assuming that their ages were between 18 and 22 years old. 8 of them were female and 6 of them were male. They were chosen on their ability to voluntarily move certain muscles of their face. They specifically talked about the zygomatic major, which helps with the smile, as well as with the orbicularis oculi muscles, which, as you can see, are the ones that are around your eyes. In the results, they discovered that not all smiles produce the same brain activity, and that the left side of the brain that is associated with the positive emotions lit up more than with the Duchenne smile than with a fake smile. Like I mentioned earlier, they had the participants make an angry face. This was in order for them to confirm that it was like the act of smiling that caused the brain activity, not the effort that was put into moving those muscles that caused the brain activity. Now that I talked about what the article is about, I'm going to talk about some of the weaknesses of it. The first being that it was published in September of 1993. This makes the article over 30 years old, and some of this information might just be irrelevant. The way that technology and brain imaging is advancing, there might just be research that's more relevant to us today. The second weakness is the fact that they did not talk about the racial or the cultural backgrounds behind their participants. We're assuming that they're from the United States, considering how they're Wisconsin college students. This just really limits how well applied this information is for other cultures, which is interesting because in this article, they talked about how smiles are different from culture to culture. So I think that's just a big thing that they missed in their information. The third weakness is the fact that the final sample was only 14 participants. That's a small group. They started off with 36 participants, but only 14 of the results were useful. This makes it hard to know if the results will hold up to a big, large, diverse group of people. The final weakness I'm going to be talking about today is the fact that they only used an EEG when performing this experiment. Again, an EEG only measures brain activity. It doesn't measure a participant's emotions. I think that the participants should have been asked how they felt after performing each facial expression in order to confirm that smiling can change brain activity and that smiling can actually make you feel happy. Ending on a good note, though, here are some of the strengths behind this article. The first being that it was published in Psychological Science Journal. This is just a very well respected, it's a peer reviewed journal. So it just means that experts reviewed this research before it was published, just making it more credible. The second strength is the fact that this article or this study is associated with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. After doing research, I found out that this is a very well-known university for their neuroscience research. So again, adds more credibility to this article. Finally, one of the biggest strengths is the fact that they restated their hypothesis and the results. This just completes the scientific method. It makes their study feel well designed and it's trustworthy.